Ever just stop and think about the impact your life has?
Yeah.
Like not just day to day, but the sort of ripples that keep going.
The long-term effect.
Exactly. So today on the Deep Dive, we're looking into some really interesting material that you, the learner, shared. It outlines this framework for personal growth, but with this real focus on multiplication, outward momentum.
Yeah, we're going to be digging into what it really means to be a steward of what we have, time, resources, everything, and that desire most of us have for our lives to actually, bear fruit.
And the difference between just taking things in versus actively sharing them. That seems key here.
Absolutely. It's a huge difference. So our mission today is to really unpack these ideas and see, what they might actually mean for you, practically speaking.
Okay, let's dive right in then. Stewardship. The sources start by pointing to Jesus as, like, the model steward.
Right. And steward can sound a bit old-fashioned, maybe like someone managing an estate.
Yeah, or a butler or something.
But here, it's really more fundamental. It's about how we handle everything we're entrusted with.
So what does that actually look like, being a steward in this sense?
Well, think of it as being given something valuable. Could be your time, skills, money, opportunities, and feeling responsible for using it well. Wanting a good return, so to speak.
And doing it honestly, with integrity. That's part of it too, right?
Definitely. Integrity is crucial. It's woven throughout the concept.
The source material brings up Matthew 6, storing up treasures in heaven. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. That really makes you think about where your focus actually lies.
It does. It's a core question. And then there's the parable of the talents in Matthew 25, which illustrates this really well.
Yeah, the servants who were given talents or money.
Exactly. And you see the ones who actively, invested what they were given. They doubled it. That highlights the active part of stewardship. It's not passive.
Right. You can't just bury it out of fear like that one servant did. It's about making things grow, putting them to work.
And that applies to our time as well. The sources talk about investing time wisely, putting what they call God's kingdom first.
Okay, God's kingdom first. That can sound a little abstract sometimes. How does that translate into, everyday life?
It could mean different things for different people, really. It's about aligning your choices with a bigger purpose than just yourself, maybe dedicating volunteer time or simply bringing real integrity to your job.
So consciously thinking about the impact of how you spend your hours.
Yeah, exactly. Because time is arguably our most limited, most precious resource, isn't it?
Good point. And then there's the integrity piece again, the idea that being faithful with small things leads to bigger responsibilities.
It's about building trust, building character. If you show you can handle what you've got responsibly, chances are you'll be entrusted with more. It's a pattern.
So the takeaway here is that following Jesus isn't just believing something. It's meant to actively shape us into these responsible stewards.
Precisely. It's an active transformation.
Okay, that flows really naturally into the next big theme, which is this idea of multiplication.
Right. And the sources trace this right back to the very beginning, Genesis.
God's first command in Genesis 1.28, be fruitful and multiply.
Yes. And initially, the context seems pretty clear. It's about having children, filling the earth, physical increase.
But then the material draws a really sharp contrast with Jesus's his last command. Mark 16.15, go into all the world and preach the good news. The focus shifts dramatically.
The physical multiplication.
And spiritual multiplication. Sharing the message, leading to new believers, what the sources call spiritual children. It's a different kind of growth.
And this concept of spiritual growth spreading out leads us to something called the 222 principle. Sounds intriguing.
It does, yeah. It comes from 2 Timothy 2.2. Paul writing to Timothy.
Okay, what's the verse say?
Paul says, basically, the things you've heard from me, entrust those to reliable people who will in turn be qualified to teach others.
So it's chain reaction. Paul teaches Timothy.
Timothy teaches reliable people who then teach still others. It's like passing the baton, but everyone keeps running.
Exactly. It's not just about one person teaching many, but about equipping people to also become teachers and trainers themselves.
What's the big deal about that model? Why is it highlighted?
Well, the potential for growth is just huge. It's exponential. If everyone passes it on, the impact spreads incredibly fast and wide.
Much faster than if one person tries to teach everyone directly.
Way faster. And, the source points out that the very fact that you, the listener, are hearing about this stuff now is likely thanks to some version of this chain stretching back through time.
Wow. That's actually quite profound when you think about it. We're all part of these chains of influence.
We really are.
Okay, so to make this idea of giving versus just receiving really land, the sources use this geographical picture, the Sea of Galilee and the Dead Sea.
Ah, yes, this is a great analogy, really visual.
So the Sea of Galilee, describe that first.
Okay, think vibrant, full of life. Lots of fish, trees around it, villages. Historically, Peter, Andrew, James, John, they were fishermen there.
Right. And the key thing.
Key thing is water flows in from the Jordan River, but crucially, it also flows out. It keeps moving.
Okay, then the contrast. The Dead Sea.
The complete opposite. It's famous for being, well, dead. Super high salt content means no fish, not really any plants around the shores, no bustling villages.
And a water situation.
Water flows in from the Jordan, just like Galilee, but there's no outlet. It just stops there. It collects and evaporates, leaving all that salt behind.
Okay, I see where this is going. Galilee, with the inflow and outflow.
That represents a life where good things, blessings, knowledge, faith come in, but they're also shared, passed on. It's dynamic, healthy.
And the Dead Sea. All inflow, no outflow.
That symbolizes a life that just accumulates, takes things in, maybe learns a lot, receives blessings, but doesn't share, becomes stagnant, lifeless in a spiritual sense.
That connects to another illustration they used, the balloon one.
Yeah, the balloon. If you keep blowing air into a balloon, receiving, but never let any out, giving, what happens eventually?
Pop.
Right. It bursts. The pressure builds up. It suggests that just hoarding spiritual insights or blessings without sharing leads to, well, maybe not a literal pop, but spiritual stagnation. It's unhealthy.
It's a really clear, stark comparison.
It is. And it leads to that direct question for you, the listener. Which sea are you more like? Is there a healthy flow in and out, or is it mostly just accumulation?
Oof. That's something to really sit with. Okay, so we have the concepts, the analogies, but how do we apply this? The sources include this gift for Jesus skit. What's that about?
Yeah, this is designed to show the practical difference between just teaching someone and actually training them.
How does it work?
It sets up two people. They start at the same place, spiritually mature, doing the same core things, praising, praying, studying the Bible, sharing their faith.
Okay, starting equal, then what?
Here's the split. One person focuses only on teaching the new people they reach. They share information, explain things.
Standard teaching model, sounds like.
Pretty much. But the other person focuses on training their new converts. They teach them the same core practices, but with the specific goal that those converts will then be able to go and train others to do the same things.
The multiplier effect again. Teaching people how to teach and train.
Exactly. And the skit then plays this out over several simulated years. Both individuals lead someone new each year.
Okay.
But the person trained by the trainer also starts leading and training someone the next year, and so on.
So you get this branching effect with the trainer.
They do. Visually, the skit shows the trainer's network growing exponentially, while the teacher's grows just, one by one, linearly.
The difference in numbers must become huge after a few years.
It really does. It dramatically illustrates the power of equipping others to multiply, not just adding individuals yourself.
And how does this tie into a gift for Jesus?
Well, the skit frames it as, when you get to heaven, what kind of gift are you bringing? Is it the handful of people you personally taught, or is it this vast expanding network initiated because you focused on training trainers?
Wow. That really brings home the stewardship idea, again, stewarding your influence, your time, to create that wider, lasting impact.
It connects all the dots: stewardship's integrity, multiplication through training.
And there was a memory verse mentioned to kind of crystallize this.
Yes, John 15:8. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples.
Bearing much fruit, not just a little.
Right. That fruitfulness, that multiplication, is presented as evidence, a sign of being his disciple.
Okay, so wrapping this deep dive up, we've covered a lot. The importance of being a good steward. This call to not just grow personally, but to multiply spiritually.
And the massive difference it makes when we shift from just teaching to actively training others to carry it forward. It's about that outflow, like the Sea of Galilee.
It really is a powerful framework, moving from just receiving to actively giving and equipping.
So maybe a final thought for you to chew on, reflecting on all this. Where's one specific area in your life, just one, where you could consciously shift from being mostly a receiver to becoming more of an active giver, maybe even a trainer?
What could that look like for you? And thinking about that gift idea, what kind of impact, what kind of ripple effect could you start to imagine making through that one shift?